everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in to another really special time with Mariah and I, Soil, Soul, and Spirit. Every third or fourth Thursday of the month, we come together to have this really soulful conversation about the interconnectedness between our soil, our soul, and our spirit, and bringing more nature into our lives, seeing ourselves as part of nature. My name is Angel Shannon. I'm the founder and executive director of Siva Health and the Siva Institute. So thank you so much for joining me. And my co host here, Mariah, will you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here tonight. Thank you for everyone who is tuning in for the first time or who is returning. We really appreciate you all's support. I'm so happy to be here and accompany Angel in this very powerful conversation. I am a lover of plants, water, nature, all things that kind of draw us into what our true roots are. And I'm here to expand and share upon that tonight. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. So, just a bit of housekeeping really quickly. Be sure to not stress yourself out wondering when we're going to be back on together. Just click that subscribe button before you leave tonight so that you get the updates of when Mariah and I are coming back on live again. And if there's anything that we talk about this evening that you want more information about, please don't hesitate to drop a comment whether you're watching us live or after the fact, if you're watching the recording. We absolutely love teaching. We're deeply passionate about soil, soul, and spirit. So don't be shy. We love good questions. And if there's something we spoke about tonight that intrigues you and you want to learn more about that and want us to go deeper in an upcoming episode, do not hesitate to let us know that. So thank you so much again for joining in. And we're going to kick it off. Tonight's topic is watering wisdom blooming within. And we know that water is essential to life, all life. So I'm going to step aside on the stage and I want Mariah to kick off our conversation tonight about hydration, like what we're talking about when we say hydration for our plants, for our, our green companions, as we sometimes like to call them, what that looks like and how that connects to our own hydration. And later in the podcast, I want you to stick around because we're going to be talking about watering our spirits. So, watering our soul, watering our plants, watering ourselves, hydrating our plants, hydrating ourselves, and then also what it means to water our spirits with wisdom. So,
Mhm.
definitely want you to stick around. So, Mariah, if you will kick it off with kick off
Yes.
our conversation tonight with hydration with our green companions,
Yes.
our
It
beloved.
is. Yes, it is so important. So I guess to go right into it, right? Water, what it is, what we consider what water is two hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule. It is the force that makes life sustainable on this earth, right? So not only are our bodies majority water, so are plants, again, and that's where we can draw those parallels. So there's this constant sort of uptake and then release that goes on with both us and them, right? We hydrate with water, electrolytes, um, fruits, right? There's multiple ways to hydrate your body, and we expel that, right, through our pores in our skin, through how we produce waste, right? And plants sort of go through that same process or that sort of exchange, right? And of course, your plants, they show you when they're dehydrated. The
Oh
leaves start
gosh.
wilting, they start to droop. They're communicating with you, just as your body shows you signs of when you're dehydrated. So it's very important to, kind of get in tune with that and just understand the that water is a force and it needs to be a priority in your life and in your plant's life.
Mhm.
But it's not something that you just do once, right? This is an ongoing exchange and uh, nourishing practice that is very important to keep up with. There are some plants that you can very much so neglect, right? Our snake plants, our dracana, most of our desert plants, right? Our cacti, our succulents. And then there are some plants that are native to rainforest environments that grow on rainforest floors and want to stay moist continuously. And I wanted to mention that to say I think it depending on where you are and what season you're in, hydration may play a bigger or smaller role in your life. So it's July, it's warm, there's so much sun, right? So we naturally, our bodies are going to want to consume more water
Mhm.
because we're expelling more water through our excretion, sweat, right? Many different things. So pay attention to kind of those fluctuations and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pay
You know,
attention.
Mariah, you are a plant specialist. You do, first of all, if you're new to this show, you know Mariah is so deeply humble. So I have to be I'm her biggest hype girl or one of her big hype girls. So she is like such an amazing her body of knowledge in the world of horticulture and care of plants and house plants specifically is just never ending. And so I, as much as I know about plants and care of plants, I still have to reach out to Mariah and in my panic state and say, help me. So, but what I really appreciate is the connection you make with plants about their need for hydration, and it all depends on what kind of plant we're talking about. And Mariah, I know you know this, that this is one of those topics that scares people
Mm.
pieces about plants because they never know, am I overwatering? Am I underwatering? And just like humans, we can be overhydrated. I mean, there is a
Mhm.
such thing called water intoxication. You can drink too much water and throw off your electrolytes. I see sometimes people carry big containers of water, and that's fine as long as we're consuming it over a period of time. But, if you sat and drank a gallon of water and then another gallon, and some people do try to do that, you can overhydrate yourself. So there is a thing called overhydration for ourselves, our human bodies, but we can overhydrate plants as well, just as much as not hydrating them enough, we can overhydrate them. And so, Mariah, for folks who
Mhm.
really want to bring more nature into their lives, specifically their home environment with plants, can you sort of speak to their fears about this concept of hydration and how they would even go about figuring out, for their first, let's just say they have their first plant. Where do they even begin with this conversation about hydration?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's important to kind of, I think you want to start with the plants that are most drought tolerant, right? So, drought tolerance, you can kind of think of it as a spectrum. So, succulents and cacti are more drought tolerant than calathea or prayer plants, right? People know prayer plants, ferns, right? And again, that's all about where they are native to and what they have acclimated to, right? Their requirements. So start with the ones that hold a lot of water in their leaves, the cacti, the succulents, the Hoyas, um, the philodendron. Ones that don't mind, because you're new to this, if you're new to this, a period of time where they just don't need a lot from you and they just want to absorb their sun. I say start with those. And again, as Angel said in the beginning, if you have any questions during, feel free to comment or afterwards. I'm happy to answer any of those, any questions you have. But think about how much you have to give, right? Time and attention. I'll be honest. Um, so like where I work, we sell these really baby tropical plants. They come in 2-inch pot sizes, right? Because they're immature, they're babies, and they're tropical plants. They need a lot of water. I encourage people, do not start with that. Don't start with the carnivorous plants that want specific water, right? They only want rain or distilled water. Start with the plants that can simply handle your tap water, right? Think about and be aware of how much do I have to give so that you can support that life force. And it can, right? This is a symbiotic relationship. My plants love and feed me, and I love and feed them. So you want to start with ones that feel approachable, easy, and aren't going to throw off your like normal routine too much, and not something that will cause you stress, but rather rehydrate and energize you. So start with the snake plants, start with the ZZ, the Dracaena, the philodendron. I could go on for a while. There are a lot of very drought tolerant plants. So there's more easy plants than not. And that also goes the same pertaining to light level, not just water. So yeah, if you have any other further questions, please, I'm happy to discuss that more.
Absolutely. And that is such good wisdom to offer. Start with those that require less of you. You know,
Mhm.
even when we think about ourselves in the season that we're in summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, let's do the work that doesn't require so much of our energy or so much of our output, because we know that there's a limit to how much we can do in the heat, number one, and that we're going to need that constant hydration. So sometimes just dialing back our expectations, I'm drawing that parallel for ourselves. Where can we just start with the basics, right? Where can we just
Yep.
make sure we're covering those basics? And like our plants, start with those. And I really, really believe this. And I'm glad you said start with the simpler ones, seriously, because that's where you get that confidence in maintaining, their health and their well-being. So that's
Exactly.
a
Just
great advice.
assessing and being honest with yourself. And maybe there's different locations that help them to retain more moisture, right?
Hmm.
But just don't take on more than what you can handle, especially in the beginning. I
Hmm.
always, people are like, oh, must have so many plants at home. I absolutely do. But I don't have many super thirsty ones because realistically, that's not something I don't want to, can't keep up with those, right? So I don't want to fail them, just like
Hmm.
they don't want to fail me. So
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
being very honest with yourself
What your
about
capacity
how,
is.
yes, capacity. There we go. That's a big
Hmm.
word. Yep.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when our plants are dehydrated, they feel, I imagine, very much like we feel. They're wilty, they're droopy, they're not getting their nutrients. I mean, I know the famous one that really shows out is the peace lily, which I'm always one of the things I love about the peace lily is it is so dramatic, right? So it's almost like the person who raises their hand in the classroom and says, "Teacher, you forgot to give us the the pencil for
And
our, you know."
and don't you wait. Don't you wait to water that plant when it tells you it's thirsty, because you could see that before you leave the house at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
and you come home at 6 p.m. and that thing is browner than my skin.
Yes.
Just water the plant
Hmm.
if it's wilting, especially the peace lily. But yes, like you're saying, Angel, most of them are very communicative.
Yes.
So people ask me often as well, when I talk about soil hydration and the amount they want to dry out, they go, do you go around and feel the soil of every no, let's be honest, I do not do that. A lot of it, I think this is learned over time, it's visual. It's like, oh wow,
Hmm.
those leaves are really thin. Oh, those leaves are drooping. And you thoroughly water it, and then the next day it's a whole new plant.
Whole new plant. It is an
So they're
amazing thing.
communicative, just like we are, right? Hi friend, I can't do this today. Let's pick another day. I'm dehydrated, right? I need to fuel myself,
Hmm.
right? That's okay.
You know what I think is fascinating is that our bodies are 70%, 75% water,
Mm-hmm.
our brains water, and the earth. 75% of the planet, I believe it's 75. Someone check me on this. It could be more, it could be less, but 75% is what I'm going to go with, is covered by water. And I think that when you think of that relationship and those numbers, I'm very much a numbers girl. I'm very,
71.
okay, 71%. That's a lot. That's the majority, right? It's over 50%. And so when you think about that in relation to all living things, plants, ourselves, the earth, like that is such a harmonizing thing when
Mm.
you think about it. And that if we are keeping ourselves well hydrated and we are protecting the earth, by streams and rivers and oceans and things like this, and our own watershed, being mindful of what your own watershed levels look like. This is also hydration. This year here in Maryland, we've had quite a rainy summer. It's been quite rainy. But I've not found myself complaining about it because, again, without the rain and the watersheds filling up, and make all of that feeds into our ability to get our own clean drinking water and whatnot. Not just for our plants and our lawns and things like this, but just our own access to clean drinking water. And we know all the world over, access to clean drinking water isn't necessarily equitable. There are places where people have to walk miles and miles and miles to get clean drinking water. So I just feel very grateful to have had so much rain this summer, to fill our watersheds and make sure that our hydration for our environment here has been adequate. What do you think about that,
I
Mariah?
love that. And I really appreciate you drawing attention to that because it is important for us to really just hold space and gratitude for our access to it.
Hmm.
Our water randomly turned off in our apartment Monday this past week. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Imagine having to walk 8 miles for simply a bucket of water that is not guaranteed to be clean, that then needs to be filtered through many, many processes prior to being drinkable. It is so important to realize. I mean, if you're tuning in here, you have access to internet. We are so, so privileged, right?
Yes.
So just hold space for that. As
Hmm.
small as it may seem, it is so big to some people. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, and just being mindful too about your water, like how much water you're wasting. Turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth, these little things, right? Even if you're done drinking that water, maybe put it in your plant, use it for something else.
Oh,
um,
yes.
just
Hmm.
right, it's something we all need, it's continuous. So yeah, I agree with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And even in a developed country where we have, tornadoes, we have hurricanes, and to your point, Mariah, about access being, cut off because lines
Immediate.
are down or all kinds of things, it's definitely not something we ever want to just take for granted, and just really being mindful of what a blessing it is to have access to the very thing that gives us life. So, that being said, as we talk about life, the human brain, oh my gosh,
Mm.
what are the things that you feel in your body when you are dehydrated? First of all, by the time you are thirsty, you're already dehydrated, right? Because thirst is the body's first signal that I need some water, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say about this is as we age, which knock, knock, we are all aging. Every day that you are breathing, you are aging. As we age, our thirst centers in our brains also start getting smaller and smaller. This is why a lot of times you'll hear your grandparents or, elderly, they'll be all day without drinking. You have to say, Grandma, Grandpa, drink something. And that's not because they're not, wanting to drink it. It's those thirst centers in our brains change as we get older. And so, for yourself, you can go almost a whole day and think to yourself, my gosh, I only drank 1 liter or less than a liter of water. You get busy and whatnot like this. So some of those signs and symptoms, we don't want to take them for granted. The brain fog, the fatigue, the irritability. Mariah, do you ever feel
Oh,
irritable? when you just need a drink of water, right?
Absolutely. I am the most, I humbly, very happy, very friendly, very open to whatever. If my mouth is dry, I am not looking to conversate. I'm sorry. So even as we're here talking, I have like my big jug just in
Yes.
case,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I definitely, the irritability is definitely a thing. Also, something I noticed is like I will be more jittery
Hmm.
because I think with all of the, of course, like hormones and chemicals and processes that our body is constantly going through, our heart beating, our muscles tensing and relaxing, we are using water while we're doing those things. And if we're not replenishing those, your body is going to show you or
Hmm.
tell you, right? It's going to communicate. But like you said, even prior to it showing those signs, it's already right in the negative,
Hmm.
in terms of like hydration levels. It's so important to just keep up with it.
Hmm.
Um, Something too I wanted to say, often sometimes when we think we're hungry, we're actually dehydrated.
Yes.
Like we need to fuel ourselves, right? And we think, oh, maybe it means I need to eat a XYZ. No, it's likely water. Like your body needs water. Um, and I'll hear people say too, however you get it, that's good. Yes, there's water in Coca-Cola and Fanta and all the things, but pure water is really good.
It
So it's
is.
okay to stick with that without like the added sugars and all the things that maybe could cause negative effects versus both like short term and in the future. You know,
Absolutely.
keep it simple,
Keep it simple.
hydrate.
Keep it simple. And I wanted to just piggyback on that a second because I know for humans, we have to be concerned about electrolytes and things like this: sodium, potassium, chloride, CO2. We have to be concerned about those things. And I always tell my patients an easy way to assess your own hydration is to look at your urine. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have, all the labs and things like this. You can look every day at your urine and see the color of your urine. Mariah, I'm curious about plants though. When with the plant foods and things like this, we're only giving our plants water, right? So I guess there's electrolytes. Could there be electrolyte imbalances in plants? Is that a thing like
Absolutely.
there are in humans?
Or what I'll say rather is like nutrient imbalances. Yes.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, so for example, at the shop, we use all rainwater. So
Mhm.
that's got a lot of really healthy, naturally occurring minerals, and things that really help to not only rehydrate, but enhance the health of the soil.
Did you say all rainwater at the
We
shop?
use all rainwater.
Oh my
We
gosh.
use rainwater. We have a
Wow.
rain barrel and we use rainwater. And it's amazing. So people always ask, do you guys constantly fertilize these plants? And I'm like, they're fertilized by the earth. If they were outside in their natural environments, that's exactly what they would be exposed to. However, it is still important. Like we're saying, electrolytes, I would kind of parallel that with fertilizer. Um, in natural forms, because plants in their natural environments, they're exposed to decaying leaves, worms, rot, all things that are kind of reintroducing nutrients to the soil, because the plant in their root system, they're constantly uptaking those nutrients, using it to better, right, push out bigger, more leaves, take up more space. But in our homes, our offices, wherever you have plants, they can become stagnant because they're not given those electrolytes, right? Or those nutrients. So it's very important to not just use water. Over There are some plants you're like, wow, why is this not producing more leaves? I haven't had to repot this in 5 years. It's because it doesn't have the food to produce the yield. It doesn't have the nutrients or the electrolytes to produce the yield that you are looking for. It needs more. So, just the same as we can hydrate with just water, but if our body needs those electrolytes, there's nothing for that water to cling to, essentially, or pair with, right?
Mhm.
To bring about the most productive energy,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know?
mhm.
So yes, yes, they need that too.
That is so amazing that you I'm just still stuck on the rainwater thing. Like, now I
Yeah,
just want to get my rain barrel. The county had a sale on those rain barrels, and I was like, well, such and such. No, I wish I had gotten the rain.
I don't know how much they cost, I'll be
Yeah,
honest, but I have a home bucket list, and one of the things we will absolutely have when we have land in a home will absolutely be a rain barrel. Even if you live in the city and you don't have means to, or you live in a house and you don't have a rain barrel, if it's thunderstorming, put a bucket out that night, collect
you
that
are
water,
so
and
right.
use that water to water your plants. It's not going to collect every drop like a rain barrel would, where it's going to go down your drain it, whatever that's called. I can't
Right.
think of the word right now, guys. But yeah, collect it by any means, even if it's a little bit. They will appreciate it. It's
Oh,
good
I just
stuff.
love this. I love
It's
this.
really good stuff.
And especially for these that really love,
I
the
love that one.
jungly kind of plants that really, really love that. I mean, if they were
It's
not in my
spoil
home, they
them.
would be outside, right? So
Exactly.
I love that. I've got a bunch of buckets from Lowe's. I'm going to do that. I
Yep.
just haven't been doing it because I've been thinking about the mosquitoes and stuff. But you know what? That is okay because right after the rain, I just use it to water. I mean, that takes care of that. Just
Yes.
like don't let the water be sitting, sitting water if it's sitting for too long and
For too
mosquitoes.
long,
Right,
yes.
right.
But if you're using it, depending on how many plants you have, if you're using it pretty regular, or right, maybe you don't want to put out 4 buckets because that would be silly. You're right, Angel. So maybe that looks more like 1 bucket, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. And Mariah and I support laughter and play and experimenting. We are both two like girl scientists here. We love experimenting. Try it out, try it out with one bucket, try it out with two, see what happens, and then, do an experiment. Give one plant just your regular water and then the other plant some of the rain water and see, gosh, this one seems to be growing, more or so. It's the type of thing that this is just an opportunity to be creative and to play around quite a bit. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
I love
I
that.
want to move us into the conversation about watering wisdom. I really do want to talk about watering wisdom. So I'm going to ask Mariah how that plays out in your life. Watering wisdom. What do you think about when you think about I need to water myself with wisdom, nourishment of, wisdom? How does that play out in your life as a practice?
Mm. I think right often the greater conversation we're having is about water and hydration. But when I think about wisdom and water and wisdom, I get down to this other amazing quality that water has, and that's cleansing. And
Yes.
so for me, um, simply after having a long day and going into the shower and lighting a candle, it's a practice. It is a very intentional time to cleanse. Sure, yes, I'm hydrating my skin as well, but it is a time to rinse and rid. Um, and I will also bring us to the topic of the ocean. And it's
Mhm.
amazing, again, these cleansing powers that it has to, right? The ocean. I love watching the waves.
Yes.
If you don't, when you go to the beach, it's nice to tan and lay out
Mhm.
and eat and all the things, but stare at the waves and understand that they never stop, right? It's
Mhm.
this pulling in, and
Mhm.
then it's this pushing out as our breath does
Mhm.
as well. So when I think about watering wisdom, I think not only about its hydrating abilities, but its ability to cleanse me. Like, oh my God, I could cry, right?
Yeah.
Or the ability it has to release, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And my good friend Malachi, because I was feeling some blockages in terms of like crying a few years ago. I didn't always let myself cry as often as I needed to. And he was like, we're literally made of water. We're made of water, right? We're majority. We're
Mhm.
made of water. We have to let it flow through us, not just through our urine and our waste and our sweat, but we have other, let it out.
Mhm.
So I think water's cleansing properties, when I relate it to wisdom, it is wise to really take advantage of all of the spiritual abilities it has and
Mhm.
the purposes that it can hold in your life. So for me, I think of cleansing. I think of its cleansing powers. And
Wow.
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for it.
Mhm. I'm telling you, that is, I'm just sitting here nodding in agreement because I know that a practice for me is creating space between the day that I had and the evening that I want to have, being intentional about washing away the energies, whether those energies were frustration or hurriedness or, anything that I may have picked up in my environment, going in the food store or being on the road. I just want to create this bridge and this separation between those two realities and then step into this evening. So it's a transition ritual for me in the evening just to shower and cleanse. And then, I really do prefer to cook my meals from a more centered and grounded place. I don't like to eat food that has the energy of rush and all that kind of stuff. So when I take my shower and then I transition to making my meal, I can do so from a place of mindfulness and grace and kindness and compassion. And this is food that is made in that spirit. So when I am eating this, I am eating the love, I am eating the compassion,
Mm.
I'm eating the patience that this food was made with. So that's one of the things for me. And that is a spirit nourishing thing for me. That is,
Mm.
that is a wisdom practice for me.
Sort of this separation, right?
Yeah.
That it creates. I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
love
don't
that.
I don't tend to cook with my preference is not to cook with like noise and the television and all those things, and certainly not the news or anything like that, because again, food is we're taking that into our bodies. And so I like to, maybe have some soft music or something like this, but it's nourishment. And so I think about the energy and the intention that goes into the preparation of the meal and then the blessing of the meal and eating the meal. So it's all kind of wound in there together. And that's a wisdom teaching that I learned many, many years ago from Thich Nhat Hanh, who speaks about mindful, or wrote about mindful eating. Just being mindful of what we're ingesting in our bodies and the spirit that surrounds what we're eating as well.
Mm.
So, but
I
the other
love
thing,
that.
oh, thank you, Mariah. The
I
other
love
thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have any particular sources that you go to water your spirit or water to water your spirit with wisdom? I know for me, I will say that poetry has been one of those things that feels very much like hydration. Um,
Mm.
how about you?
I love that. Of course, I can't help but to say simply just immersing myself in nature feels hydrating. It could be 95 degrees outside, sure. But I do indeed, at least spiritually, feel hydrated from simply surrounding myself with nature. Another thing I feel like that hydrates me are my friends and my community. And that's why I think it's just as you're saying, being very intentional about how you're even preparing and what you are consuming. I think you should do the same exact thing when it comes to the energies and the people that you are surrounding yourself with. And I think it can bring out about the question or even just the conversation of being wanting to water what waters you,
Oh, yes.
right? So in your community, who do you feel watered and hydrated by versus who do you leave feeling wrinkly and depleted and wilted by? Right? I think those are very important questions to ask yourself. So for me, my community, I'm so thankful for everyone who is a part of that, for hydrating me
Mhm.
and keeping me going.
Yeah. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that who are the people? What are the things? Sometimes we're doing work that does not hydrate us anymore or nourish us, and so, sometimes we get to a point in our lives where it's time to pivot and make a change, maybe pursue other work that gives us life,
Mm.
or, pursue hobbies. If we can't change our career, at least we can create some separation between our work week and our work weekend, and pursue some hobbies that hydrate us, that nourish us, that give us life. A lot of times we take that work into the weekend and then we start the week all over again and never have that bridge between what nourishes us and then what sustains us. You know, so that's
Absolutely.
something to
Mhm.
really consider. The people, the places, the things. What are some of the places that you've outgrown? What are some
Mhm.
of the things that you've outgrown? What are some of the beliefs that are zapping your energy and
Mm.
are not hydrating you? And I wanted to share a poem, one of my favorite, well, I call her my literary godmother, Alice Walker. She wrote this poem that I just want to share because this really
Yes.
n- n- nourishes me. Are we still there on? Are we on? Oh, yes, we are. Okay.
I just wanted to, yes, I was looking up. You said Alice Walton. This
Oh,
is for
Alice
everyone.
Walker. Alice
Walker.
Walker. Yep. So
Understood.
she wrote this poem that's titled "When We Let Spirit Lead Us," and so I'm going to share that poem, and then there's just one other that I want to share because this really hydrates me when I need it. The first by Alice Walker is "When We Let Spirit Lead Us." When we let spirit lead us, it is impossible to know where we are being led. All we know, all we can believe, all we can hope is that we are going home and that wherever spirit takes us is where we live. And the reason I wanted to share this is because Mariah often says to me, Angel, we are right where we are supposed to be. I am right where I'm supposed to be. She's a deep, deep believer that wherever she is where she is supposed to be. And I wanted to share this because that last line is, all we can hope is that we are going home and that wherever spirit takes us is where we live. And I find that very,
Oh,
very hydrating and nourishing. I really deeply do.
absolutely. I love that poem. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it calls to light again. Water has many, many like superpowers, I'll call them, because it's what they are. But it reminds us to be fluid
Yes.
and to just, it's okay to go with the flow sometimes. It's okay to not know and just trust wherever that is leading you, right? When there's leaves that fall into the water in the river, they don't know. When there's bugs that fall into the water, they don't know where they're going,
No idea.
but they've got no choice but to hold on and trust where it's going to end up, right?
Yeah.
And I think we have to do that same thing and remind ourselves that it's okay to be fluid and not fixed. And right, I think the inverse of that would be like fixed
Exactly.
in what it is that we think should be happening, or where we think we should be, or who we think we should look like, or da, da, da. Be fluid. And that, I feel like that poem draws attention to that very well.
Exactly. And when water meets a rock, it goes around.
Um,
It flows around. Just be like water, just being fluid and being flexible and being creative, finding ways to go around our obstacles. We can't just lose it, right? We have to be fluid in life. And that brings me to this other poem I want to share with you,
yeah.
build on what Mariah just said. This is from Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, Rilke. Uh, the poet writes, live the questions now. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer.
Wow.
To your
Oh,
point,
that's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
we can't know everything. We can't
No.
see everything. We know what's behind us, and 2020 for what's behind us, 2020 vision, but we
Mm-hmm.
can't possibly know. And that came up for me this week, is just some real questions and that frustration in my mind that, gosh, I just don't have the answer to this right now. And then I remembered, went to my journal, and I remembered this, that Angel, just live with the question for right now. Just let it sit. Just let it sit
Mm-hmm.
and live with the question for right now. And
Oh,
sure enough, answers, and you know this for yourself, listener.
yeah.
You know this for yourself, that answers come up. You can be in the shower, you can be sitting at the stoplight, you can be standing in the grocer, and all of a sudden it's like, there it is. I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Yes. And I'm sure that's beautiful. It's true. I definitely have those moments. Um, too, I will say this quote wrong, but I hope to paint the picture well here. It's hard to see your reflection when the water is moving, but in stillness and calmness, that's where you're able to see that mirror, right? And as we move through our lives on this earth, and we are mirrored, our life is a reflection of us, right? um if it's chaotic, you're going to lack clarity. It's in stillness and calmness that you are able to see those reflections, and water is a very good example of that. You see
Absolutely.
ripples, you see waves and chaos. You don't have any clear picture of what's at the bottom of that body of water, but it's only in stillness that you can really see that true mirror.
That is the
I love
absolute
that.
truth. Yeah. And I love
Mhm.
that you called attention to the ripple in the water, the ripple effect. Just knowing that each one of us, through our actions, through our beliefs, through our intentions, through our words, we are creating a ripple effect in the water of life, in the greater pool of life.
Mm.
Our words, actions, thoughts, deeds, intentions have a ripple effect on everything that we do, and every person that is within our sphere of influence, even
Because
though
we are all interconnected.
yes,
We are
yes.
all interconnected beings and life forces, right?
Hmm.
We are all connected with one another. So the better job that we do of being intentional with our word and our time and our self-care and our you know, again, watering what waters us, the better we're able to better energy we're able to contribute to not only ourselves but just everyone, the greater world.
Yes,
But it's
yes.
in that work, it's in
Hmm.
that time with self.
It is.
Hmm.
It is.
Yes.
Mariah, I always have such a good time having this conversation and making the connection between soil, soul, and spirit. I hope that you will take us home for this conversation and just maybe close us out with a thought or a piece of advice or a piece of wisdom about hydration and watering wisdom for our
Sure.
listeners.
I did take a few notes on like some prompts or things that can bring about, you know, whether it's something you journal about or you simply just sit with this question on your mind. Um, am I receiving everything that I'm putting out? And I think it's important to take some time and really sit in that alone. Again, this constant balance of plus and minus, of give and take, and of night and day in your work environment, in your relationship with yourself. Am I giving everything to myself that I'm putting out to other people? How are you to show up for anyone if you are not showing up for yourself? If you're not hydrating, if you're not fueling yourself with your community, with your self care practices, with your very intentional meals? Think about if you are receiving everything that you're putting out? And that's a question I want to sit with myself um, more.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to ask ourselves regularly. So that's a really
Exactly.
big one.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly support that. And one thing we are big on here at Soil, Soul, and Spirit is journal practice. It is the most, I think, the most important reflection that you can ever have in your life to see where you are, to rediscover hidden talents, hidden all kinds of things about yourself. It's just a very, very powerful tool for self-discovery. And, when you're ready to make changes in your life, when you're ready to take yourself to that next level, when you're ready to expand, when you're ready for change, all those things, the journal is just such a wonderful place to do that.
Mhm.
And I always say, your journal is for you. Your journal is for you. You don't have to ever worry about, writing the perfect sentences or having the perfect punctuation or any of those things. If you saw my journal, you'd probably chuckle because I have stickers in my journal and all kinds of girly things. But at the end of the day, we highly, highly encourage you to consider starting a journal practice or rekindling a journal practice if you have put it aside for a while, or maintain your journal practice. So in the notes or the show notes here at the bottom, you'll see some journal prompts, and you'll also see if you're part of the community, which we hope you are, just look on the posts here on this channel because the posts actually have the journal prompts that accompany our conversation tonight. So it's just a way for you to go a little bit deeper on some of the topics we talked about this evening for Watering Wisdom. So we
That's
thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah, we thank you so very much for being here, Mariah.
Absolutely. It is always such a pleasure. And this one, I mean, all of them are so important, right? But this one has felt really, really special.
Mhm.
And I hope that everyone is able to, take a tool or even like a tool home with them, or that it brought about some new perspective that you uh, did not have prior to. And just speaking back to the journaling thing, I always say to myself when I feel maybe anxious about journaling, I'm like, if no one's listening, the journal is. The paper is always there. Like the paper
Oh,
is always there. So I've been telling myself that probably since like the age of like 12, ever since I don't know, I really started to mature and grow and become more aware of who I am and my place in this world. If no one else is listening, that paper is listening to you.
wow.
So
Now
use
that
it.
is wisdom. That is
Use
wisdom.
it. Use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Use it.
use it. Use it. Make it whatever you need your journal to be. So thank you all for joining in tonight. We will see you next month, right back here, third
Yes.
Thursday. If there's a reason we're not here on the third Thursday, we will let you know that. It'll be in the community posts. We do thank you so deeply for being here and for watching those who are watching after the fact. And do us a favor, subscribe, and also just forward this to a friend, someone you care about. Let's pay it forward and share the love and build this beloved community that better world that we all want to be part of. So thank you again.
Yes.
Well, be good to yourself. Never, ever, ever be afraid to be amazing. Ever.
Take up space and hydrate.
And hydrate. Bye, everyone.
Bye.